What's up, everyone? I hope everybody's sort of Convallaria gameplay is going pretty great for them. I'm going to take a little bit of time, and at a viewer's request, I was asked to do a Cole team comp. Um, I won't go into great detail and talk about Cole and how to build him. He's been out for a while. If you're interested in that, drop me some comments. Let me know. Tell me about it. If you are interested in a team build, a Cole build, I'll be glad to put one up for you. However, I'm going to assume that most everybody knows how to build Cole and how he works. And with that said, a team build around Cole is really tough because Cole kind of does best without a team. In fact, a lot of things in his kit kind of urge you to get away from the team and act independently. So with that in mind, I thought of a few team comps, and one that I had a lot of fun with is what I call the Papal Secret Service. And so let's get into it. Just take a look at them right here. The Papal Secret Service. So here we are. We got all the Papal units that I own. I do not have all of them. And with what I had, I put together a team that could basically hold the enemy off while Cole can make his rounds and go through the back line and do what's necessary. Hidden objectives on maps, whatever is needed. And so, with that said, I'm going to get right into it and talk about the team. Now, the first person I put on that team is the Papal Guard. Now, this guy right here is the tank. He's the one that ensures the team can hold it down, stay alive, and be resilient long enough for Cole to do whatever it is he needs to do in the background. And so, let's go talk about his build. First, let's look at his trait. His trait is he gains block when a character has 3 or more buffs. His physical damage taken is decreased by 15%, and block chance is increased to 100% when he has 3 buffs. And a lot of the Papal Guard require buffs in order to do well, okay? And so, with that in mind, let's look at his abilities, what we've done here. He's got a normal basic attack. However, his reaction, when hit by a ranged attack, his damage is decreased by 25%. That's what I put on him for this one. Now, I gave him a support ability that gives him 3 buffs for 3 turns. Damage reduction 4, Mind's Eye, and immunity to disrupt. So right there, whenever he pops this, he instantly gets those 3 buffs that he needs. It's perfect. Past that, he has another support ability where it's going to give him a physical shield. And it's going to give him block enhancement, which is a buff. So right there's your 4th buff. This block enhancement is fantastic. When hit by a ranged physical attack, the front or the side, there's a 100% chance to trigger the block. Everybody likes to use him in weapon trials. I got a video on it. Go check it out. He's phenomenal for that reason. And guess what? In most other battles, does more of the same. He is probably the most truest of tanks that is in the game right now, in my opinion. Okay? And so, with this pops this ability, that physical shield's also a huge deal, and it synergizes really well with his weapon, which I'll discuss in a minute. But that gives him, for 2 energy, 25% free HP as an overshield. It's phenomenal. And then last, I got the passive on him. Takes physical attacks for all the other allies within 2 tiles of the character. When triggered, defense is increased by 20%. Can be activated up to 1 time per round. So, he's going to jump in, he's going to take a hit for allies, and then he gets a defense buff for it. And there's another buff right there to make sure that he gets that passive rolling. So, can't beat it. It's fantastic. Great unit. Let's talk about the weapon here. The weapon, what seems like the best thing in slot for him, for me, in my opinion, is Guardian's Will. This weapon right here increases his HP by a flat rate. When having a shield, which he has in his ability in his kit, increases defense by 30% and decreases damage taken by 10%. Phenomenal. It's his weapon. It seems like it's made for him. And so, why not use it? Past that, let's look at this resonance. It only makes sense to me to put this resonance on him. And so, what we got here is we got 2 green resonance. When injured, increases damage by 5% and decreases damage taken by 5%. When dying, it increases damage by 10% and decreases damage taken by 10%. Of course, we're primarily focused on the damage that we're mitigating and not dealing with him. But that's a really good, nice thing to have on him. So, we went the double pinnacle on him. For the trinket, I've got cooling powder. Now, this can be switched out with a few different things. and there's nothing wrong with that. Put whatever you want on there. For me, this is what I put on him because I don't want him to ever have an issue getting healed, because his job is to take hits. And then that's the great thing about cooling powder, is it gains immunity to no healing received, the debuff. And so having that immunity is huge. If you don't have that, that's fine. Other things like, Crystal Burst armor is decent. Coexist armor is a great choice to put on him. Only really helps if he's healthy, so you'd have to keep him topped off. Unique Coat is a great option. That's for physical damage primarily, and so on and so forth. And of course, don't ever sleep on the Spring Tonic. That's a self-heal. It's a great trinket as well. Moving on, Terror Whisper. The Terror Whisper I put on him is the Silence of the Hermit. Now, this is a given because it reduces damage taken by 10%, and then if you're lucky, you get the final, upgrade for it, an additional 10% damage reduced as far as what's taken. So it's 20% right there. In his kit in total, there's a ton of HP, a ton of damage mitigation in his kit. Right here you got damage reduction by 40%. Then you're gonna get another 5 or 10% off of the Resonance, and then 20% off the Terror Whisper. It's phenomenal. Can't beat it. Never mind the block too, which the block also decreases damage taken by another 20%. Like, this guy lives to tank, and he does a really good job at it. So he's a core component of this team for what I built. Let's move on and talk about the next individual in the team, and that is, for me, Angel. Of course, when we're talking about sustaining, you got to be able to heal. Now, I need to say this first and foremost before I talk about Angel. I'm using her. I don't have Samantha. If you have Samantha, Samantha fits. Probably does a better job than Angel. More than likely does a better job than Angel. And can do, obviously, more than Angel. But I don't have her. So I'm utilizing Angel and let them talk about how to build her. Hopefully you can enjoy her too. Now, for that damage mitigation and survivability of the team, to hold it off the enemy while Cole does his thing, you got to be able to have the heals. Here's Angel with her trait. The healing effect increases by 15% after healing an ally. Grants 3 random buffs to the target for 2 turns. So whoever she heals, she's buffing 3 times. Which, remember what I said about the Papal State. Their traits like buffs and are dependent upon buffs. So she has huge synergy there for that reason. That's an obvious. Who to thunk it. Moving on, let's look at her skills. Now, for her basic attack, we got Merciful Strike. I like it because it increases the effect of the next healing skill by 15%. There's not too often she's doing basic attacks for me. However, it's nice to get a little bit of a buff on the next next healing spell when you do it. The only thing I would do better is energy, and I don't believe that's in her kit, so unlucky. That's what we went with. Now, for the next one, I chose Protection of Light. When hit by an active single target attack, the damage taken is decreased by 30%. This effect can be activated 1 time per round. I choose this because I want her to have survivability. Of course, you can use Endurance Activation, which when receiving healing, it gains damage reduction 2 for 2 turns. It's a flat 20%. There's nothing wrong with that. However, I like this because that 30% is a higher number, and it can be activated once per round, and it's just makes life better, in my opinion. I think that's the better of the 2 traits. Reactions, sorry. So past that, let's look at the healing. Now you have a couple things. Of course, you can do regeneration. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually a phenomenal choice, and if you decide to put that on there, I wouldn't fault you for it. At the end of your turn, she heals an ally with the lowest HP 3 tiles around the character for 20%. Super duper easy, super duper phenomenal. It's great. However, I chose her single target heal because it dispels debuffs and it's a higher heal at 100%. And for me, I'm fighting in hard level matches. We're taking a ton of damage, so generally whenever I heal, it's got to be for a lot. And so a nice little 1 energy heal is perfect. The next skill I chose is Light of Healing. Now this one is an AoE heal with range. It's really nice. Heals all allies within 2 tiles of the target for 60% and dispels 1 debuff. Fantastic. And then lastly, I have an aura on her. It increases magic defense by 30% for all allies within 2 tiles. I just like the extra beef and defense because, like I said, the job of the team around Cole is to really not be a team with Cole, but to survive while Cole does his thing. So that's the way I've got her built. Let's talk about her weapon. Ink Totem. Everybody's seen it. Everybody knows what it is. Hopefully everybody's got one. Healing effect increased by 10%. Simple, sweet, effective. Of course, if you got something better, like you want a cornucopia staff, maybe you're a dolphin, maybe you're a whale, this is fantastic. It's a great choice. But moving on, Ink Totem is what I got on her. It's a nice low budget, free-to-play choice. Now for the Resonance, I got Double Chalice. Increases healing effect by 10% and healing received by 10%. It's great on healers. We want her to be able to heal a lot and quickly. So enough said there. Let's talk about the trinket. Coexist armor. Once again, I want her to be healthy all the time, and I don't want her to get smacked around and take too much damage. When she does take damage, I need her to survive it. So this is what I choose to put on her as a trinket. There's other options if you prefer it. Maybe you want to put some debuffs out there. You put a disaster bot on her. Mysterious Guardians, not terrible, gives you a little buff on defense, things like that. And of course there's Mysterious Deflection Device, which decreases damage from range attacks, which generally is what she'll be hit by, if anything, like AoE magic spells, things like that. But for me, I prefer that Coexist armor because it has the flat rate 10% damage mitigation. And then for the Terror Whisperer, more healing effects, 15%. That's the Mercy of the High Priestess. Can't go wrong with it. I've got it. Well, I got lucky enough. We're on the 4th upgrade. It had an additional 50%. And if the target is dying, that is a further 15%. I'm lucky to get that. Happy to use it. Makes perfect sense for her. Once again, you're going to take lots of damage. You need her to heal for lots. And in turn, each turn. Okay? So she's the second person that's on the team. And for me, Papal Guard and Angel / Samantha, they're a must. Those two are staples. Past that, I'm going to say this third choice is also a staple, and that's the Papal Ice Priest. This guy right here, he helps manage all the enemies and hold them off while you're tanking. Now, let's look at his trait. He increases magic attack by 15%. At the end of the turn, grants physical defense 2, which is a 40%, to 2 random allies within 2 tiles of the character, lasting for 2 turns. That's phenomenal. All he's got to do is end his turn and he gives a buff out. Remember, these Papal Guard like their buffs. And then he has a defensive buff. A lot of people talk about the Papal Ice Guard, Ice Priest, blah, and how great he is. Can't stress it enough. The trait alone is really, really strong for what we're trying to do in this team comp. Let's talk about his abilities. Of course, he's got the regular basic attack. However, this reaction, when hit by an active attack, damage taken is decreased by 8%. After being attacked, the character gains damage reduction 2, which is a 20% damage reduction, for 2 turns. Simple, sweet, helps mitigate the damage. It's what we want. That's the focus. I think you're catching the theme if you haven't already. Now, for his abilities, I'm all about trying to manage all the enemies and their movement. And that's the beautiful thing about the Ice Priest, is he's going to be able to put down all this icy terrain through his abilities. This Ice Shock deals 75% ice damage to all enemies in a straight line for 5 tiles. Great range in the targeted direction. And it inflicts speed down 1 and move down 1. Fantastic for 2 turns. It's a great debuff with great range, and it leaves behind those ice tiles. Those ice tiles are a big deal because they're going to minimize the movement through them and help manage those enemies while Cole is making his rounds and doing his thing. Next one is Ice Age. It deals 75% ice AoE damage to all enemies within 3 tiles around the character, and also inflicts those same debuffs for 2 turns. The thing about this is, as you can see, 3 tiles all around the Ice Priest. That's a lot of range. That's a lot of ice tiles created. The only exception is the center where he's standing. Everything else will be covered in ice and will be hard for the enemy to move through. So, once again, phenomenal choice for being able to manage and handle those units that are pressing the attack while Cole's doing his thing. And then for the final one, a very, very good ability, an Icy Blast. Now, this one does deal 75% AoE damage to the first enemy in each line within a 2x3 area, inflicting speed and move down 1 for 2 turns. It also knocks enemies back by 2 tiles. Now notice this one doesn't say ice AoE damage. On this spell it says ice. This spell says ice. But right here it does not. That means it does not leave icy terrain behind. And so you're just doing magical damage. No icy terrain will be left by it. However, you got 2 knockback. 2 rows of knockback. That's fantastic. It's really, really good for managing those enemies and keeping them at bay and surviving while Cole does this thing. Can't keep stressing that enough. Let's talk about the weapon. For me, Starry Sky Heritage is what I like. It is a legendary. It increases HP by 10%, grants bonus magical attack equal to 6% of the HP at the start of the battle. The goal for me is to make this guy tanky with HP, and so to get magic attack out of the HP is a huge bonus, and we're very happy about that. And so can't beat this. This is the choice that I'd go with. If you don't have this and you want something else, something like this, the Gazing Orb does 10% more damage. There's nothing wrong with that. And then of course, Explosive Crystal, AoE damage increased by 8%. These things are great choices. So let's talk about the Resonance. I don't think I see this Resonance used very much. However, on high energy characters, I think this is a fantastic Resonance, and on him I think it's amazing. I often will use abilities and I'll be able to do so the next turn right away because of this. And so here it is. You have the wand and the chalice, the cup. And so what it does is at the end of the turn, there's a 50% chance to gain Engraving Resonance. Engraving Resonance. When using an active skill next time, refunds the energy consumed and resets the cooldown. The skill effect has a cooldown of 4 turns. So you nuke and you land your Ice Age. It costs 4 energy to cast. You'd normally be out a couple turns before you'd be able to use it. However, with that Resonance, if you're lucky and you proc it at a 50% chance, mind you that cooldown, you're going to be able to cast it right away again. It's phenomenal. Especially if you can get it to proc early match. It's phenomenal. Absolutely great. Now for the trinket. For me, I just want to be hardy and healthy, and so I put that Rejection Mask. It mitigates magic damage taken by 20%, has a 3-turn cooldown. Of course, it gets less the more it's upgraded. Coexist Armor is a fantastic choice on here too. I just threw this on here because, I had a little bit extra. I thought it'd be a good choice. I didn't think he'd take a lot of physical damage, maybe just magical damage. However, honestly, he takes it all. So that Coexist Armor is probably optimal, but however, I have Rejection Mask on him for now, and it's got that cup engraving, so I'm happy with it. It works as long as it's defensive, giving that physical, magical, or damage mitigation. You're good. Those are the things you want on him primarily. Make them all tanky. Let's talk about the Terror Whisper. Terror Whisper, I love this Terror Whisper. Guidance of the World on him. He's not going to need to cast his abilities every turn because his job is to hold the enemy at bay and help the team survive while Cole does his thing. I keep saying it. This guy right here recovers 1 energy additionally when not using an active skill and standby. Click standby, boom. You get 1 energy back. 1 extra energy gets you 2 energy for that turn. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And then of course I was lucky enough at level 4 to get the extra buff, which reduces the cooldown of all active skills by 1 turn when not using an active skill and standby. It's phenomenal. Now I haven't tested and I'd like to know, but I think it might work for Engraving Resonance. Does not trigger in real-time combat. Yeah. So I think that works for that. That's pretty great. Otherwise, none of his skills except for Icy Blast have a cooldown, and getting it a cooldown is great. There's no reason you wouldn't want it. So, because you're going to want to knock those enemies back as much as you can and keep them at bay. So all in all, the Guidance of the World is the perfect Terror Whisper for him. Let's move on to the next choice on the team. And so now we're getting into the optional slots, in my opinion. So we got Cole, Papal Guard, Angel, and Papal Priest. That's 4. Now, if you're looking for a 5th or a 6th, which I'm going to go over just the 5th. Well, I'll go over all of it, in fact, actually. For the 5th, for me, I choose Suppression. The whole point of the team around Cole is to keep the enemy at bay. Plus, Suppression has one key thing that we need, which is that aura for the Papal State. And so, he's my 5th choice option. And I think he is the softest staple on the team, but a staple nonetheless. So, let's look at his trait. Magical damage is decreased by 17%. Before taking active attacks launched by enemies within 3 tiles around the character from the front or side, it performs a preempt, dealing piercing damage up to 60% of his magic defense. It's good damage, and it's easy, and it's ranged. It's a preemptive counterattack, and it's piercing. Can't beat it. It's fantastic. He does a good job. Now, I'm going to go over his skills. I want you to be kind on his reaction. When you look at here, you've got 2 choices on the reaction. You can choose a hard counterattack. For me, I built him for the weapon trial fight. So when hit by an active magic attack, the damage taken is decreased by 15%. That counterattack is pretty nice because you want something to do a little bit of damage. You can't just have a team just sitting there soaking damage the whole time, other than your Ice Priest. So if you go with the counterattack on him, there's nothing wrong with that. I went with this reaction. With that said, let's look at these skills. For his basic attack, Invigorating Strike gives that energy back. He really doesn't need a ton of energy unless he's, well, I mean, it can be beneficial, but it's good because that heal we're going to be proccing later. But that's what I went with because I want that energy back. There's often times when he's full of energy, though. Just a heads up, because he doesn't necessarily need a bunch of it. That's just me. That's what I experienced. Maybe it'd be different for you. The reaction we already talked about with the defense magical, the reaction when you mitigate that magical damage by 15%. Then we got this one right here. This is the next skill that I put on him. And so, I think it's pronounced flagellant. Probably messed it up. Let me know if I did. I'd love to learn how to say that correctly. Probably going to end up Googling it after this. Regardless, it's a passive. It gains 1 stack of penitence. So penitence is a buff. It decreases damage taken by 8%. This effect can be stacked up to 3 times and cannot be dispelled. That last part of it's huge. Each stack decreases damage by 8%, as we just read. This effect cannot be dispelled, as we just read. Additionally, recovers 1 energy if the character has penitence stacks at the end of each turn. So he's gaining more energy by taking damage. It's phenomenal. It's great. I like it. The next is the aura. For me, I think that's a must in this one because you're working around the Papal Secret Service, if you will, and so you want them all to have a nice little buff, and that 20% defense buff is the biggest part of it. The 10% attack buff that you get out of it helps Cole, and then of course the defense really helps Cole too, but that 10% is for Cole primarily. So yeah. And then the last one right here is Devout Guard. It's a healing ability. The character dispels 3 debuffs, recovers 40% HP, and gains physical defense and magical defense too, which is a 40% buff. The character takes attacks for all other allies within 2 tiles around the character and increases the trait effect by 200%. And so that is what we read about that preemptive strike. And him, well, it's more than the preemptive strike. We'll look at it again here in a second. But it increases by 200% for 2 turns. This effect cannot be dispelled. So, magical damage decreased by 72%. That changes. That becomes 34, the way I read it. And also, you're dealing piercing damage back equal to 120% of your magical defense. Needs to be tested. Sounds great all the same. It's phenomenal. Now let's look at the weapon. For me, I put Guardian Spear. It's flat HP. It's a rare. It's easy to get. Hopefully you have one. You can utilize it. There's other options if you prefer it. Maybe you want more damage. Maybe you want, defense. There's other options. There's other things. More movement. For me, I think this is the best choice over the legendaries, in my opinion, with that flat HP. Now, for the Resonance, we chose Double Pinnacle, minus flat rate damage. Can't beat it. Now, he does a little extra damage. That's good for that preemptive strike or attacks if you choose to do some. But that damage mitigation is the goal and what we're really looking for. Now, the Mist Necklace is what I put him as a trinket. I use this in the weapon trial. I love it. I think it's great. For being actively attacked and inflicts 2 random debuffs on the attack for 2 turns. I think it's great. He's going to jump in, he's going to cover, and he's going to debuff the enemy. And that just makes it easier to survive. So that's what I put on him. Once again, if you want something else on him, plenty of things work. I like the Mist Necklace. And then the Silence of the Hermit for that flat rate damage mitigation is what I put on for the Terror Whisper. Now that last team slot, number 6, if it's available, can be intermixed. You can put all kinds of things in there. You know, if you need extra magical damage, you can put Lash in there. Lash has got good range. If you have Barrel, Barrel's a better choice than Lash, in my opinion. Some people might disagree. If you really want range and to support Cole at a distance, Divine Grace, don't sleep on him. Wow, what a great choice this guy is. You know, he's got high range. He's got this flame shot, the covering shot where he performs assisting attacks at range. He's got some heal in his kit. Can't beat that. And then look at the range right here on this. 5 tiles, 120% damage. Fantastic unit. Can stay with the team and even hit targets far away that might be messing with Cole. He might need a little bit of assistance. So don't sleep on him. He's a fantastic choice to throw in there. Blade is a good choice. Good blink tank. He's got that fancy footwork. So if you need someone to come in and take, you know, soak damage or make rounds, maybe go help distract the enemy, whatever it may be, that's the beautiful thing about the Papal Guard, the Papal State, I should say. Is they have a lot of units here to choose from. And if you need a breaker, of course you got the Papal Pikeman, and then, you know, the Papal Pikeman's also offset by, you know, Leonid if you need another breaker, or maybe you just need more damage and you want it physical. Papal Pikeman, Leonid's decent. Garcia is a great choice. One person I'm not going to talk about that fits in the Papal State is Miguel. And I'm not going to talk about him because I think he has the most synergy with Cole. I really want to get him, and I really want to make a special team comp completely around those two. You know, it's not ironic. Their stories tied together, and they have great synergy. But, man, Miguel looks like a lot of fun to play with Cole. So I'd love to see that and experiment with that. But I don't have them, so I can't really touch on that. With that said, that's what I see for the team. I'm going to show you a clip of me playing and clearing a stage using this team, and then you can tell me what you think about it. Alright, here we go. And we got a team of 5. And my goal here is to take the team, keep them together, soak as much damage and distract the opponent as best we can, while Cole goes around behind, hits objectives, kills, and cleans up. Right here, they're already doing their job. With Cole, he's used his invisibility ability to stay off the radar, stay back. Papal Guard goes up and keeps soaking. We just move somebody off with that icy wind from the Papal Priest. Got a nice little cover there. Cole puts in his first little bit of work. He survives the hit. That's exactly what we needed. Get some heals out. Big OE. Gets a kill. Lots of icy terrain to manage these enemies. Clean him up. Get him out of the way. None of them are moving yet. However, Cole moves up. Nice little line of ice there. It's going to keep them slowed down. They're starting to push up. Cole comes in to start working on the back line in objectives. Topping off the HP. Their movement was reduced because of the ice. Nice little pushback. We're getting ready to take some damage there, so we use that ability. Cole takes a hit. It's unlucky. But these enemies are nice and spread out, so it's actually perfect for Cole. Papal Guard is tanking with the best of them. This guy kind of dummies it up and hits his own people. That's to our advantage. Cole goes to work. Doing what Cole does best. Beautiful. Here he comes in. We just soak that damage up. Not even a concern. Even this low HP. He can't even get to us to hit us. Look at that. Not only does he block, counter, preemptively counters and kills. We use that just to kind of finish everybody off, clean up a little bit. Heals almost completely full. Beautiful. Cole comes over. More work. Beautiful. Once again, if you want me to do a Cole video on how to build them, throw it down in the comments. I'll be happy to do it. But I think a lot of people know how to, so I don't really want to waste anyone's time and make a video like that, unless people just really want it. More damage, more management on the movement. Cole's coming in to clean up. Soak these hits up. Get that physical shield up. Push him back. We want him to go away. And finish it off. So as you see, Cole's able to make his rounds. Just go all the way around back. Enemies are spread out across the map for the stage. He got to clean up. He got to hit those objectives and kind of work ahead of the fight. While the bulk of the team just moved up slowly, managed and controlled the movement, and whittled them down. Once again, that's the best team comp I see for Cole. His whole deal is that he doesn't need a team. So what he really needs is a team that can survive and thrive without him while he does his job of killing and being a merciless assassin. Sorry, her job. Wow, I probably have said he a lot for Cole. Her job. My bad. Hit me in the comments over that one. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. Please let me know what you think. If this works for you, if you think it's interesting, if you don't, I have another idea for a team that I want to build for her, and I would like to, do it, but I really want to get Miguel in order to do it. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Take it easy. Enjoy your assault at Convallaria. I'll catch you later.